Good Wednesday morning to you students. Welcome to the next to last Wednesday of the whole school year for you seniors. And Tara, well, what can I say? Hang in there. You've got a little bit longer than them, but the year is almost over, so hang in there, keep working hard, and let's see if we can't ace this test next Tuesday. So that leads me to my first announcement. There will be a test next Tuesday. If Mr. Harmon is not in the room, would you young ladies please make sure to tell him I need the calendar in the teacher's lounge to have Tuesday's test written on it. If he could do that, I'd really appreciate it. And Mr. Harmon, if you're there, please understand I will, unless an emergency happens, be there to teach the test next Tuesday or to give the test. So I will be there. You owe me homework problems, just 3 of them from last night, so please turn those in. I'll pause a second while you're getting those out, making sure your names are on them and passing them in. So please do that right now if you would. And again, I'm still under the weather a little bit, so my voice will be raspy. I will pause for water and probably cough a little bit, but that's just how it is. So if you can ignore that, then I will do the best I can to teach. Okay, please turn your homework in like I've said, and let's continue on. I want to quickly review some stuff that we covered earlier this week on Monday and Tuesday, so you can sit back. We're not doing bonus points. We'll not have another quiz. You can watch or you can take notes. I will leave that up to you. All right. Here's a right triangle, and let me very quickly. Okay, we're going to have this right triangle here, and we're going to call the hypotenuse 8, I guess, and we'll call this. Let me fix that. There we go. We'll call the hypotenuse 8, and we're going to call this angle up here 50 degrees, and we're going to call this side down here x. And I would like you to solve for x. Now, we cannot use Pythagorean Theorem. We cannot use 30, 60, 90. We cannot use 40, 45, 45, 90. And so the only thing left for you to use would be sine ratio, cosine ratio, or tangent ratio. All right. Now, let's very quickly realize here's our angle. Let's go across. We're going to call this our opposite side. Here's the right angle. We'll go across. This is my hypotenuse. So this side over here is my adjacent. Now look, students, the only side that I know is the hypotenuse. So I can use sine or I can use cosine. I cannot use tangent. I do not know what the opposite side is, and I do not know what the adjacent side is. You have to know at least one of the sides to use these trig ratios. So it really doesn't matter which one you use. I'm going to go ahead and use sine. So sine of what angle? 50 equals opposite, that's my x, over hypotenuse, that's 8. Now whatever the bottom of your fraction is, you multiply both sides by that number. I'm going to multiply the right side by 8. That would leave me with x. I'm going to multiply the left side by 8. And when I do that, I have 8 times the sine of 50. Now I'm quickly opening my calculator up, turning it on here. The sine of 50 is 0.7660. Make sure you're in degrees. And then, of course, if you multiply those two numbers together, you will come up with 6.13. 6.13. So that's what x equals. So now I know the length of this side right here. Okay, so that's something we learned on Monday. You're not always going to be able to use tangent. Sometimes you'll use sine, sometimes you'll use cosine. All right, now one more review from yesterday, and then we'll get into some notes for today. Also, we talked about yesterday the fact that I want you to learn how to do this: solve triangles. And whenever you hear, excuse me for a second. Whenever you hear solve triangles, that means you want to find all the missing sides and all the missing angles. Well, I'm going to go ahead and throw 62 degrees in here this time. And again, you can take notes or just watch. And I'm going to go ahead and call this side here x, this side here y, and I'm going to call this length of 5 right here. Okay? Now, I want us to solve this triangle. Well, first of all, the angles are really obvious. Would you watch this, please? This is what we learned yesterday. This is 90 and this is 62. So if I add those two together, you'll get 152. All right? And then, of course, all three angles have to add up to 180, so we subtract it out, and you're left with 28 degrees. So this angle right here must be 28 degrees. Let's go ahead and call this triangle A, B, C. So the measure of angle C equals 28 degrees. Again, if you'll put up with my voice, I will continue to teach. So that's kind of a deal we'll make. So measure of angle C is 28 degrees. Now, we've got to solve for x, we've got to solve for y. You can't use Pythagorean Theorem, you only know one side. We can't use 30, 60, 90 shortcuts, we can't use 45, 45, 90 shortcuts. The only thing we can do is we can use our ratio sine, cosine, tangent. Now, please pick one of these angles. I'm going to use 28 degrees. No certain reason why, that's just I'm choosing to use 28 degrees. You could use 62. You'll get the same answers. I'm going to use 28 degrees and go straight across. This is my opposite side. Here's my right angle. So this is my hypotenuse side. So the only side left is this side here, and this would be my adjacent side right here. All right? So there's my three sides. Now, the known side that we have is opposite. Does everybody see that? We do not know the hypotenuse. We do not know the adjacent side. We know the opposite side. So we would not want to use cosine, because cosine ratio is what? Adjacent over hypotenuse. And we don't know the adjacent, we don't know the hypotenuse. So you don't want to use cosine. We can use sine or tangent. And it really doesn't matter to me. I'm just going to use tangent for no certain reason. So I'm going to say tangent of, now I circle 28 degrees. That's the angle that I'm using. Tangent of 28 degrees equals opposite over adjacent. So opposite would be 5. Adjacent would be y. Now the bottom of your fraction is y, so we're going to multiply both sides by y. If you multiply the right side by y, you're left with 5. If you're going to multiply the left side by y, you're left with y, and then tangent of 28. If you type that in, you will get 0.5317. So 0.5317. Now, the y is multiplying this parentheses. So I'm going to divide both sides by 0.5317. Divide this side by 0.5317. So y equals, and type into your calculator 5 divided by this decimal, and you will get 9.4. So I come up here to y, and the adjacent side is 9.4. Now you're welcome to use, students, another trig ratio if you want. For me, look, come on, don't miss this, guys. I know two sides of the triangle. I'm going to circle them for you. Here's one side, and here's the other side. So why not use Pythagorean's theorem? L squared plus L squared equals 8 squared. All right? So one leg is 5, that's 5 squared. The other leg is 9.4, so 9.4 squared, and your hypotenuse is hypotenuse squared. Well, I'm going to skip a step here because you guys are older students. If I take 9.4 and square it, I'm going to get 88.36 plus 5 squared is 25. I'm going to get this. If you square this number and square this number and add them together, you're going to get 113.36 equals 8 squared. And now I'm going to take the square root of that number, and you'll get 10.6. 10.6. So there, we have completely solved the triangle. And you say, Mr. Yard, how do you know when you're done? Well, I know all three sides, and I know all three angles. So I have successfully solved this triangle. So that was a quick little review from the past 2 days. And Friday and Monday, we're going to tie this whole thing together, spend a couple of days reviewing over the whole chapter, and then take your test on Tuesday. All right? All right, let's continue on. Go ahead and grab your notebooks at this time, please. We're going to take some notes from pretty much the whole hour, well, for a good amount of time. If I end the video early, then you won't have any homework tonight, and you won't have to do any homework tomorrow on this lesson. We're just going to work a bunch of problems in class today, and then finish lesson 10.6 tomorrow. So go ahead and grab your notes, and let's take some notes here for a couple minutes. Okay, let's write this heading in your notes, please. We're going to learn today how to use trig ratios to find missing angles. All right, using trig ratios to find missing angles. The lesson number is 10.6, and I guess if you wanted to, you could put part 2. Tomorrow's going to be part 3, but we started 10.6 yesterday. A little bit more today and a little bit more tomorrow. The date today is the 8th, May 8th. All right, please copy this in your notes. Using trig ratios to find missing angles. All right, let's continue on. Follow along as I read this sentence to you. You don't need to write this down, just listen. We've used sine, cosine, and tangent to find missing sides of triangles. Now we are going to use these three ratios, sine, cosine, and tangent, to find missing angles. Okay? So don't become confused. We've used these trig ratios to find missing sides. We did it right back here in this example. And now we're going to start using trig ratios to find missing angles. You're going to have to use a button on your calculator that you've never used before. And it's going to be your job to find that button, or talk to a friend, or talk to Mrs. Walker if you cannot find the button. Okay? All right, let's continue on. Let's review for a second. Have I not taught you how to find the tangent of 40? You don't have to write this down. You can if you want to. You can just watch. It's up to you. Sure, I have. With your calculator, you hit the tangent button and then 40, and you get this out, 0.8391. We've learned how to do that, haven't we? Okay, we've also learned how to do this. We've learned how to find the cosine of an angle when I give you a triangle. You say we have? Well, sure we have. How do you find, let me erase this arrow right here. How do you find the cosine, excuse me. How do you find the cosine of angle A? Well, the ratio I've taught you is adjacent over hypotenuse. So cosine of A, here's A, go straight across. This is your opposite side. This is your hypotenuse. And this is your adjacent. So how do you find the cosine of A? Adjacent over hypotenuse. 3 is your adjacent. Hypotenuse is 5. So the cosine of angle A is 3/5. We've learned how to do that. We've learned how to do this right here. Remember this? We have learned how to solve an equation like this. You're missing one of the numbers that is in your fraction right here. You're missing the bottom. So we'd multiply both sides by x. You would have 6. And then x, well, sine of 40 would be, let's see, 0.6428. I'm not going to finish it, but you know we've done problems like this. And then we divide both sides by 0.6428. All right. We've looked at equations like this right here, haven't we? Where the top part of the fraction is missing. And we've said to ourselves, well, the bottom is 6, so I multiply the right side by 6. I'm left with x. I multiply the left side by 6, and the sine of 40 is 0.6428. Then multiply these two numbers together, and you know what x is. We've done those. We've done all of those, okay? But look at this, please. Is everybody ready? You should have written this heading down a couple hours ago, okay? And now I've shown you a bunch of equations that we know how to do, but now watch this. But we have never solved an equation that looked like this. All right? And here it is. Don't write anything down yet. Just watch. I have never given you a trig equation where you're missing the angle and you know both parts of the fraction. Here you're missing the angle, but you have no unknowns over here. You're missing the angle, but you have no unknowns over here. We have not done any equations like that. Do you see the difference? Let's go back a page. Here, your x was on the right side of the equation. Here, your x was on the right side of the equation. And these equations, we're looking for this angle right here, tangent of angle x, sine of angle x, cosine of angle x. You're looking for an angle, and we've never done that. So I want to teach you very quickly how to do this. Then I'm going to give you a bunch of problems we're going to work on. And then more than likely, I can't promise you this, maybe I'll be wrong, but I think you're going to have a little bit of time at the end of the hour to work on other stuff or just visit for a little bit. And I know, Mr. Harmon, if you're in the room, I love the phrase bell to bell, and you said that last year, and I'm a firm believer in that. But students, we're down toward the end, to be honest with you. I'm really trying to go slow over chapter 10 and make sure you guys really do well on this last test. And I guess I could cram the whole chapter in and try to get 2 or 3 lessons in chapter 11 in, but we're not going to do that. So we're really taking our time. We're really going slow. And hopefully that will be a help to you on this last chapter. All right, here we go. Let's take some notes. I would like you to write down these 3 problems. I'm going to pause for a second. While you do that, we're going to solve each one of these. So I'm going to wait a minute. Please copy down these 3 problems. All right, here we go. Let's start off with this problem right here. Now, any time you're looking for an angle using tangent, sine, or cosine, you want to look for this button right here on your calculator. So everybody needs to find this. It'll be tangent to the -1. Now, if you have a graphing calculator like I have, you're going to find this right above the tangent button. It'll be in blue. It'll say tangent to the -1. Most of your calculators will have this right above the regular tangent button. Now here's the catch, okay? First of all, again, you've got to make sure you're in degrees, okay? And secondly, some calculators, you type this in first, and then you type in 4/5 and enter, and out pops the angle. Some calculators, you first type in 4/5 like this, and then you hit the tangent to the -1 button. That's called inverse tangent or tangent inverse, okay? I'm not there, but I'm going to tell you now what the answer is, and then you guys kind of play around with your calculators. For my calculator, a graphing calculator, I hit second, the second button, far left, top of the calculator is the second button. I hit second and then tangent, and when I do that, this pops up on the screen right here. Tangent of -1 with the parentheses. And then I would type in 4 divided by 5 and then close the parentheses and then hit enter. When you do that, this should pop up on your screen. Now you guys are going to have to pause the video if you need to and finagle around with your calculators until you figure this out. But you are looking for the tangent to the -1 or inverse tangent. 38.6598. Now usually we'll round to the nearest whole number, so this would be 39 degrees. So there, you just found the angle that when you take the tangent of 39 degrees, you get out 4/5 or 0.8 approximately. So what's the angle we were looking for? 39 degrees. Now I'm moving on. If you guys are struggling with this, pause the video, help each other find this button right here on your calculator. The only time you use this button, tangent to the -1, is when you're trying to find an angle. That's the only time you use it. Don't use it any other time, okay? Okay, let's move on. I'm trying to find an angle that when I take the sine of that angle, I get out 2/7. Well, I'm looking for an angle, so in my calculator, I'm going to hit second sine, and when I do that, this pops up on the screen. And then type in 2 divided by 7 and close the parentheses. If you do that, you should get out 17 degrees. Well, 16.6015496. I'm going to round to 17 degrees. So there, you found a missing angle. Cool. All right, let's try cosine. All right, we're looking for a missing angle, so I'm going to type in second cosine on my calculator, and up pops this right here, cosine of the -1. Then you want to type in 0.265 and then close your parentheses. So 0.265, close your parentheses, and you should get out 74.633. So I'm going to round that to 75 degrees. 75 degrees, okay? Now what I'd like to do is I want you to write a sentence in your notes. Get ready to write a sentence in your notes. And I want to practice a bunch of these mixed in with some other types too, so you learn when to use the sine, cosine, and tangent -1 button and when not to, okay? So I'm going to grab a drink of water while you copy this sentence in your notes. Please copy that down. Excuse me. Only use the sine inverse, cosine inverse, and tangent inverse, that's what that -1 means, inverse, when you are trying to find the value of an angle. If you use those buttons any other time, you're going to make a mistake. That is what that button is for finding missing angles, okay? So with that in mind, I want you guys to take a bunch of notes, so no complaining, please. Grab your pencils, grab your notebooks, and let's get ready. My wife just fell over on the couch and started sleeping about 2 seconds ago. I hope you guys are not doing that in class right now. All right, here we go. Let's start off with this equation right here. Copy this in your notes. Tangent of 32 degrees, write that down please, equals 5 over x. I want you to solve that. Are you ready? Here we go. You can work ahead or watch me. Are we looking for a missing angle? No, we are not. We have the angle right here. So we are not going to use the tangent inverse button. We're going to solve this like we learned last week. Our denominator is x, so we multiply the right side by x. That leaves us with 5. On the left side, we multiply the left side by x, and it's x times the tangent of 32. Now don't hit inverse tangent, it's just tangent of 32. You should get 0.6249. 0.6249. Alright? And now the x is being multiplied times that parentheses, so we're going to divide both sides by 0.6249. They cancel over here. So x equals, with your calculator, take 5 divided by that decimal, and you should get 8.00167, so 8. Do you see what Miss Gerhardt's trying to do here, guys? I'm trying to throw some problems at you and make you decide whether you're going to use these -1 buttons or whether you're not going to. The only time you use these inverse trig functions is when you're missing an angle. All right, let's try another one, students. Here we go. And again, you put up with a voice, and I will do the best I can to teach. All right, sine of 51 degrees equals x over 10. All right, I have a question for you. Are you missing an angle? No, you're not. It's right here. So we're not going to use any of these buttons right here. Okay, students? We're going to solve this the way we've always learned. What's the bottom of your fraction? 10. So we're going to multiply the right side by 10. That leaves us with x. We're going to multiply the left side by 10. And that would be 10 times the sine of 51. The sine of 51 is 0.7771. 0.7771. And now multiply these two numbers together over here, and you'll get 7.771, so 7.8. So there. Okay? Sometimes you're going to use these -1 buttons, sometimes you're not. Okay? Let's try a couple more. Here we go. My voice is really starting to go, guys. And I've really tried to push myself. I might be stopping here after a couple more, so I know you're cheering right now, but my voice is just about ready to go. So, all right, here we go. Write this down in your notes, would you please? Cosine of y equals 4 ninths. 4 ninths. Now, are we missing an angle? Yes. Yes, we are right here. Cosine of what angle? I don't know. So with your calculator, you want to type in cosine of -1 and then 4 divided by 9, okay? And you'll get 63.6122004. So we're going to round to 64 degrees. Let's do one more, and that'll be it. And if Mr. Harmon, if you're in the room, my reputation last year was one of teaching the whole hour and making sure students worked hard. But this is going to have to do it for today, and we'll pick up here tomorrow and start and start applying this to triangles, and then go from there. So, all right, let's try tangent of angle A equals, let's use a decimal this time. Let's use 1.623. All right. So, are we missing an angle? Yes, we are right there. Tangent of what angle? We don't know. Question mark. I don't know. So, I hit the tangent -1 button like this, and then type in 1.623. All right. And you'll get out 58.36099,384. So 58 degrees is what you should get out. Students, listen to me. Every class period is a good class period, okay? And you need to know what I've taught you today. Let me give you a little a little heads up as to what tomorrow's class will be like. I'm going to give you some right triangles like this. Just watch, please. Now watch. And I'm not going to give you any angles at all. I mean, sure, it's a right angle, but I mean, you're not going to know these angles. And I'm going to call this an 8 and I don't know, whatever. I'm just making this up. 6, and that's probably not even right because it doesn't work with Pythagorean Theorem, but nonetheless, you get the idea. And you're going to have to draw. There's your angle. You're going to have to call this your opposite side. This is going to be your hypotenuse side, and this is going to be your adjacent side. You're going to have to solve for these angles. I'm going to help you tomorrow. I'm going to show you which one to find first, etc. But we're going to apply these -1 buttons, these inverse buttons. So please, if you're not getting this, go back and play the video some more in class. There's nothing wrong with that, or whatever you need to do. Okay, no homework tonight. So Wednesday, and be ready to work tomorrow. Friday's a review sheet. Monday we'll finish the review sheet and give you a test on Tuesday. And then don't think you're out of the woods. Absolutely not. No way. Seniors, you finish. You've got Wednesday and Thursday of next week. We're going to start reviewing. You guys are going to take notes in class like any senior should do. It's good for you to sit and review. And then I'll continue to review the following week before the exam with Tara. All right, you guys have a good day, and we will see you or talk to you tomorrow.